rolling right into.
So many movies, no time to watch them all. But Twig wants to see them, so we gave Drayfrjg a call. Now they're bringing on their friends, and together they will view these. So sit back and relax. It's Twig's Missing Movies.
Hello and welcome to Twig's Missing Movies, a show dedicated to watching the movies that Twig inexplicably hasn't seen. I'm your host Drayfrjg, and here's our cinematically clueless crow, Corvus Twig.
Okay, now it's the second time you've called me cinematically clueless. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I've seen a lot of movies, but what is you just like I'm clueless because I didn't see Rocky Horror before?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, that's kind of what this is about, right? Is these are movies you haven't seen. These are movies you don't know anything about. And I think you can call these cinematic to some degree. So saying it's cinematically clueless is accurate. Is it vague? Sure, yeah, but I like working in vague notions sometimes.
Okay, fine, fine,
I like
fine.
to cast aspersions where I can.
I mean, I like to describe. Okay, am I as much of a cinephile as you? No, not even close. Not even
No,
close.
no, very few people are.
Yeah. But I mean, there's other people I know that have like never seen any movies at all. I mean, I feel like I'm a
I
moderate movie
oh,
enjoyer at the very least.
I gotta challenge that. How have they gone there? Like, how have they not watched movies?
I mean, some people just prefer other means of entertainment. I mean, there's some people out there that like to read. Like, can you believe that? Like, they
I
actually will like sit down with a book and like read it and like get entertainment value out of that. I mean, it's weird. It's weird.
I um I gotta I gotta go. I gotta I think my mom's honking for me outside. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, who reads? Nerds. That's who reads books, guys. Nerds. That's who. Not not like I don't read a shit ton of D&D books ever.
Look, I need to have everything I read done in 256 characters or fewer. You know, it's
I think that's a personal failing, my friend. You need to work on that. Even
like,
if you don't like read the books, listen to audiobooks. Like that's what I do a lot more audiobooks
no,
now
I
than
mean,
I do.
I obviously am joking. I do enjoy reading. I'm not a big
Okay.
novel reader, but I do like reading books by people. Like I just recently read the book by Maria Bamford, "Sure I'll Join Your Cult," and it is phenomenal.
Is that like the expose book about cults that I keep
No,
hearing about?
no, it's really. If I had to say, if there was one central theme to that book, it is mental illness, because Maria Bamford has had to deal with a lot in her life. But
Oh,
she's
I'm
also
sure.
she's also one of the most brilliant stand-up comics of all time, and it's very. I mean, I really recommend the audiobook on that one because she narrates it herself, and
Oh, I
she's able
love
to
when
do the
authors do that.
voices. I also really enjoyed reading, but also listening to the audiobooks of John Hodgman's books, Medallion
So
for
you
Madison,
like
and
nonfiction books or like comedy books
see,
or something?
here's the thing with me when it comes to like novels and stuff.
Yeah.
My ADHD and autistic brain will not let me read, and maintain what I'm reading because I'll read a passage and it'll make me think of something, and then I'll start thinking about that thing, and my brain will go off on tangents. And though my eyes and brain are processing the words on the page, I'm not like actually processing them in my head. And then I'll be like, I just read that whole page and I can't tell you a single thing that happened on it, and I have to reread it because my mind just goes too many places and I can't focus. That's my problem.
Are you the kind of person that when you read the book, you don't like you imagine like what's going on in the book, or do you
Oh,
just read it and then process it?
I visualize it in my head as I'm reading it, but just
Hmm.
I have trouble focusing. I have
I
trouble
get that.
focusing.
I felt and heard, same even.
Yeah.
Um, but I think you should give some audiobooks some tries, like some like lengthy audiobooks with like the cinematic fights and like fantasy books, not just comedians talking about cults or whatever it is you kids are reading these days.
Okay, the "Sure I'll Join Your Cult" thing was just basically based off of one line from her stand-up, where like a coworker's like, "Hey, I'm going to this retreat over the weekend. You're welcome to come along. We're going to be exploring some things about ourselves. There's no obligation." And she's like,
Yeah, sure, I'll join your
sure, I'll
court.
join your cult.
Is this where all the weirdos are
and
talking
then and
about
then
love and happiness?
and then the cult leader got frustrated because she didn't have any money to pay for the extended retreat and didn't have
Of course
anybody she
not.
could borrow money from.
Of
She's like,
course not.
is there anybody that you could borrow the money from for this retreat? Oh man, if you could spot me, that'd be great. It's okay. I mean, I don't want to. I'm butchering it because Maria obviously does it way better.
Yeah, of course. I get you. It's hard to explain. Yeah. It's hard to explain comedy of others if you do not have their comedy flow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, today, Twig, I got kind of a unique one for you.
A unique. We're only on episode 2, and we're already going into unique ones.
Yeah, the guest chose this, right? Like that's the whole point of this. The guest chooses the movie off of your list of movies you've never seen.
Of course,
and
this movie was not on the list.
No, it wasn't on the list, and that was what was funny to me. Released in March of 2004, produced by, I'm going to butcher these names and I apologize, Mitsuhisa Ishikawa and Toshio Suzuki, in conjunction with Production IG and Studio Ghibli. Yeah, you heard that right. Studio Ghibli.
I know them.
It features another glimpse in the dark and dreary world that exists in its predecessor movie, Ghost in the Shell. Known commonly in Japan as just Innocence, this movie is none other than Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence.
All right, Ghost in the Shell, Innocence. I assume the Innocence is referring to that very cute basset hound on the.
Of course. Of course.
I mean, basset hounds are very innocent, cute, lovely dogs with the biggest, floppiest ears I know of in the dog kingdom.
Indeed.
So, it's from the creators of Spirit Away and Howl's Moving Castle. Well, there we go.
Well, it's a co-production, right? Two studios were involved.
So, okay, I mean, it must be a movie about young children, going through life and.
Hey, we'll get there. Okay. Save your predictions, right? Yes. Crowtaur chose this movie. I don't know why. She was very excited when we both said we had never heard of it. With that in mind...
Well, okay, about Crowtaur, I said, how about you start off by giving me a list of your, 5 favorite movies, and if I haven't seen any of them, then we'll watch that. And then she's like, Little Shop of Horrors. I'm like, okay, well, you just listed my favorite movie musical of all time. Okay.
It's a great movie musical.
Terminator 2. Okay, I was born in 1985. If I haven't seen Terminator 2, I would have to be ejected into the sun.
Well, wait. First of all, have you seen your own list, sir? There's a lot of movies I can eject you in some form.
Shut up. But then she also listed Jinro. Great movie. Saw it back in college.
I don't think I've seen Jinro.
And then lastly, she chose Ghost in the Shell 1, which, again, I saw back in the day. But I knew there was a TV series, but I didn't know there was another movie.
Yeah, there's... Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything more for you because there's a lot to the Ghost in the Shell universe. There's obviously it's based on a manga.
Mm-hmm. As most anime
same name.
Is, yeah.
As most anime is. But not all anime.
No, of course not all.
This okay, let me go through my questions. All right? We're distracted, all right?
No, it's okay.
Why haven't you seen this film?
Well, I guess there's probably 2 reasons. I guess the first one is that I wasn't even aware of its existence until recently. But I guess the main reason I wasn't aware of its existence is that, I mean, back in high school and college, I was super into anime. And then as I got older through my 20s, I just kind of lost interest in anime. It sounds like, I'm not saying anime is bad. I just didn't have the interest in seeing it, and I just kind of fell out of the community of people that watch anime, which is weird because I'm a VTuber.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say you're an anime per se, more cartoony.
It's true,
right?
It's true.
But you're definitely in an industry based on anime.
Yeah,
because that's where it started.
And when people talk about anime, it's like every once in a while I'll check one out and watch it, and some of them I've enjoyed, some of them I haven't. Everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta check out My Hero Academia." I watched 5 episodes and I hated the main character so much.
It's definitely not an anime I would recommend. I know I'm gonna get hate for this, but if I'm gonna make you watch or ask you to watch a shonen, I'd make you watch something with more interest than just superpowers are a thing.
wasn't for me. And I'm sure that like if you've watched the whole thing, like it has some great story arcs, but I just can't invest my time in 200 episodes of something.
No, 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 no.
Um,
It's we're adults. We have jobs, guys. All right. What was the second reason that you haven't seen this film?
I listed the two reasons. It's
Oh,
because I
did
had
you?
never heard. I said it was because I'd
Fuck,
never heard of it,
fuck,
and
my
because I wasn't
ADHD got me. My own ADHD got me. I got caught up in the conversation. Just punch my keyboard. Why don't I? Okay. What do you know of the film?
What do I know about Ghost in the Shell 2? Almost nothing. So I am going to assume that because it is a sequel to Ghost in the Shell, it takes place in the future. It has cyberpunk elements and likely will explore the relationship between artificial intelligence and real intelligence and go into philosophy about the existence of a soul and do androids have souls, something, I mean, stuff like that. But you're asking what I know. I
Yeah.
guess is what I know is that it's a sequel to Ghost in the Shell. It takes place in the future. That's about it. I have no idea what the plot is, no idea what the characters are. I mean, I can probably guess, but as for knowledge, do I know? Nope, I don't know. Because the characters that I do know, the woman on there does not look like Motoko, and the other person on that doesn't look like Gato.
I'm sorry, that's a dog. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't think it's gonna look like that. Just like I was looking up some
Did I say
factoids.
Gato? I think it's Bato. Is it Gato
I,
or
I can't.
Bato? I can't
I
remember.
can't remember. I can't remember. I'm with
He's
you.
the guy with like the white eye
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
augmentations.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember the name.
Gato or Bato? It's my bad.
One of the weird factoids that I did see when I was trying to look up to do that intro was that this movie is based entirely on one chapter in the manga. That's it.
Huh.
Just one chapter. They made a whole movie about one chapter. Now, it could be a very long chapter. I have never read the manga myself,
Now is
so
a
I don't
chapter like a
know.
whole book when it comes to a manga?
I
Though?
don't. It depends. It depends, right? I haven't read enough manga to tell you. But like looking at my Horimiya right here, I believe that these volumes are how they separate out the various issues, and then chapters tend to be however long, just like a regular book. Uh, and I guess my third and final question for you is everyone's favorite part. What do you think will happen in this film?
All right, it's time for Twigs movie predictions. Okay. Um. Okay. First prediction: Motoko and. Okay, this is too. It's not supposed to be this big. I thought I reduced it last time, but apparently it didn't. Come on. Let's go. Let's see. How's that look on the screen? That's good. Okay.
Yeah, that works.
Motoko and Bato return. Okay, cool. Um, let's see. What other predictions do I have? Let's see. I'm gonna say neither of them die, but maybe Motoko gets another new body. Because remember at the end of the first one,
Yeah.
she got put in a new body. So I'm gonna say she gets another new body this time. Let's see here. Let's see what the plot is gonna be about. What do I think the plot is gonna be about? Let's see here. Like what kind of okay, so I'm gonna guess it's Innocence. Okay, Innocence. What does Innocence make me think? I'm going to guess that the androids will have childlike personality, or they'll be like, okay, I'm trying to explain so I'm thinking that there's going to be androids that are basically children, and the innocents, and that maybe, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna say android children are being kidnapped and enslaved, and
Pretty standard cyberpunk.
yeah, and that Motoko infiltrates them because she got kind of a young body.
Yeah.
infiltrates them, pretending to be a child, and frees them. Is that
I think those are some good predictions. I know nothing about the film, so I can't tell you one way or another.
yeah?
But if you manage to get even two out of these, we'll call you winner chicken dinner.
I like winning and eating chicken dinners.
Don't, Susie, if you're here, that's a joke.
I mean, not silky chickens, just the standard breed chickens. I'm sorry, Susie. I would never eat butter.
I would eat chickens.
Chickens are delicious. So I guess those are my predictions. And then I guess my last prediction, which I'm not going to put up here, is I think I'm going to like it. I bet it'll be good. Based off of who made it and just kind of the general themes of it, it's stuff I'm into. So I predict that I will enjoy this movie. What? Now you've never seen it either, Dre.
No.
What?
I
mean,
not.
I suppose we won't mark these official, but I mean, what are your predictions? I'm kind of curious about that.
I think there's gonna be a dog.
Oh God! If that dog isn't in the movie, I'm fucking rioting. I swear to God.
I do share your thoughts that this is gonna have something to do with children in some way, shape, or form.
All right. I'm gonna add this. There will be a dog.
There will be a dog. It's a good prediction. You know, it's an easy win. It's an easy win.
It's easy win. Yeah.
But now that bumps you up to getting 3 out of the 6 right. So
okay, well I can do that. I'm feeling really good about 1, 2, and 6.
yeah. And I think really it's gonna pick up right where the last one left off, especially since it's supposed to be a chapter in the manga, right?
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna like it too because I like Ghost in the Shell. It did take me like 2 watches of Ghost in the Shell to understand what was going on and to enjoy it. But I think with this one I'm gonna, because I know what I'm getting into and what I should like kind of expect. I think I'll enjoy it the first time around.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do, and that's to go watch the movie.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're gonna go watch the movie, and when we come back, we will have watched Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence.
Bentai hit play.
Yeah, Bentai hit play. All right. Okay,
There's Hans.
No stream is really done without some scuff, huh?
Yeah. Hans.
All right. Let's do this again. Welcome everybody to another wonderful Twigs Missing Movies. Welcome to the part of the show where we are introducing to you our guest, who is Crowtaur, aka Ray, on the internet, our local and favorite Crow Centaur hybrid. She's the one who coerced us to watch Ghost in the Shell 2. And here she is to defend her choices.
Oh God!
For the cinematic masterpiece.
Why did you do this to us, Crowtaur?
Yeah, why?
Why did you suggest this to this?
I think I speak for Corvus and myself when I say we left with more questions than we had before we started the movie.
Good.
And even less answers than when we started the movie.
Good.
We had negative answers by the end of the movie.
Well, that's for you to figure out, right?
Well, we're gonna dive deep in here, and we're gonna figure this. We're gonna figure this out.
Yes. Let's do it.
Before we do that, maybe some of my guests don't know who you are. Why don't you tell our guests a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Crowtaur, also known as Ray. I'm a horse bird. See the bird and horse combination right there. I'm an artist. Also occasional PG tuber, I suppose. just currently on a hiatus, but I shall be back soon with an even more spiffier me. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love movies.
Don't you mean a hiatus? Thank you, everybody. I'll be here all week.
All right. So yeah, we watched Ghost. I mean, so what does I mean? Not just particularly this movie, but what does the Ghost in the Shell franchise mean to you? Why was this the movie that you gravitated towards?
Oh, well, it means to me quite a lot. I think I stumbled upon the Ghost in the Shell manga very early as a kid, and it's one of those things you see in the library, the public library, and it spooks the hell out of you. Like it has like this sort of massive emotional impact on you because of like the robots and sort of body horror elements to it, like transhumanism, and that stuck with me until I saw like way later saw the actual movie, and it just blew my mind. And then I saw that there was a sequel too, and I lost my mind. There's also the both of the movies are very different from the manga because the director is Mamoru Oshii and sort of his cronies, and they have a very particular approach to making movies. They love to make it cerebral. They love to just throw a bunch of philosophical questions at you and have characters just spew them at you, and I love that. I enjoy that. I don't know why. Maybe because I hate myself or something like that. I like to appear very intelligent, and even though I'm not.
I'm mysterious and edgy. I don't want anyone else to find anything else out about me.
Well, this is very much not. I mean, both of the movies are really very much not the type of movie where you just sit back, turn your brain off, and just enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
They kind of make you think about what's going on, and I almost kind of wish I had watched this movie a second time before now, just but I don't know. Maybe I didn't need to. It's
It is one of those. It
I
requires.
definitely ate I definitely ate crow on the thought that I could watch the movie once and understand what was going on. It's definitely going to be one of those, again, like you said, it's a cerebral movie, right? As the first one is. It's a cerebral philosophical movie. And I probably should read the manga too so I could get a better understanding of what's actually
Um,
happening in the movies.
the funny thing about the manga is it's similar. It has similar ideas, but the author, if it tells you anything, the author is currently a very well-known hentai artist. They do a lot of hentai stuff, and that is also in the manga. It
Are you,
is
are you trying
very
to
horny.
dissuade me?
I mean,
I feel like this is a selling point,
yeah. I mean,
unless it's gross.
I'm not dissuading you. I'm just saying, like, alter your expectations.
they put out pornography. That's gross. That's disgusting. Where?
Where is it so I
On
can
the
avoid it at all
internet.
costs?
I think
Yeah.
What pages exactly so I know which ones to skip?
oh, I don't have the book with me, but I have it in boxes, and yeah.
I
Um,
mean, so I'm gonna see if I can do for this movie. We'll get deeper into the particular scenes and stuff, but a quick plot synopsis from my memory. So it starts off with police and authorities are at the scene of a murder, and Bato shows up and is there to investigate and finds a gynoid, which is based. They're sex robots. They're sex robots, and then it attacks him and he fights it, and then they have to figure out, okay, turns out these gynoids have not only started murdering people but also trying to commit suicide. And so they decide that Gato, I keep saying Gato, I know it's Bato.
it's not a cake.
Yeah, I know, sorry.
Or
And
cat.
then what's it? It's Togusa is his name.
Togusa, yeah.
Togusa.
Togusa,
And they basically go out and try and start investigating it. And they're like, all right, well, we know that there might be some ties to these Yakuza, and we're going to go in peacefully and negotiate. And 3 seconds in, he starts blasting all of them away with a giant machine gun. And that scene was awesome.
Yeah.
Then they get chewed up by their boss. They go to the lab that makes them, talk to a lady who is one of the manufacturers trying to figure out what's going wrong. They get some sort of hint that there are some sort of souls inside of these things, or ghosts, as we say. Then they end up going to this weird, like, city that's, like, got big marching CGI things. And they end up going to this guy's house, and they find him dead, except he's not dead. And then they do a couple bits of Groundhog's Day, and then it turns out that they're able to escape the Groundhog's Day loop because Motoko has taken over one of them. Then they go deeper into a facility, and they find that there's real human girls who have had their souls basically copied into ghosts being put into these things. The robots start attacking all of them, and they end up defeating them with the help of Motoko, who then goes like kind of back into the aether, her ghost just kind of going around, and Gato returns home to his dog. And that's like the simplest way you could possibly put it, but did I leave anything important out? I mean,
I think you left out to go to Gosa,
Togusa.
finding out he's a robot himself.
Oh yeah.
That one tripped me out. I was like, huh?
Well, I mean, his brain is actively being fucked with.
Yeah, there's a lot of active fucking with. Like, there's a scene in a where Bato's brain gets fucked with, and he almost murders a convenience store full of people, but is like stopped at the last minute before things go horribly wrong. So there is kind of a big subplot of like, you know, their brains being hacked and being taken control of.
And I guess the important bit there is that the claim is for Bato that no one can hack him except for like one person, and they come across a second person that can hack him, and that's also a driving force behind him trying to figure out who this terrorist cell or who these owners of these attacks are on the botstitutes.
Oh yeah,
because
botstitutes are also typically owned by and then murdering important people, heads of businesses, politicians, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're trying to prevent a scandal. Another major theme is Togusa feeling completely inadequate at not being as good of a partner to Bato as the Major was, because, you know, I see saying Motoko, but, you know, it feels like they refer to her as the Major more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has big, I'm just here for the ride energy, because he's just a normal guy. He's just a regular, innocent guy.
He kind of feels like the audience stand-in.
Exactly.
Like we're kind of supposed to be viewing things from his, like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. This Bato guy's way more competent than I could ever be, but I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, like, Bato is like ex-military, most of his body is cyborg. Togusa is the only guy in all Section 9 who has the least augmentations. So he's the most human, quote-unquote. The only thing he has is, like, the back of the head, neck ports.
Well, I thought purportedly that he didn't have much at all beyond what was standard, right? He didn't have an E-brain was like a point of reference for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's discovered that he is, and he's like, whoa.
No, okay. I think you're getting something wrong.
I think I am. I mean, I'm going to get a lot wrong about this movie.
So this is literally a movie you have to watch twice, and I get why that scene is very confusing, because everything is happening all at once, and an important bit is Togusa's body transforms into one of those dolls. So it is where that theme of dolls and humans and life versus inanimate clash, right? Where he's being made aware of, I don't know, his own body and what animates it and his own existence. And I'm sorry if I'm getting too deep into the sauce here.
No, I need explanation because
all right.
We skimmed the top like you would skim the top of the soup for fat. You know.
Okay. Let me spell it out for you then. This movie is about it's a dialogue to the first movie. In the first movie, it's about what's the meaning of having a soul. Can a soul exist without a body? So there's this AI that was created in the net and has no body, and sort of asks Motoko to more or less mate with them so they can acquire that body and become one. And then in the second movie, it's about, can a body exist without a soul? What are dolls? Can they be alive? Is a robot de facto a doll? Like, can a machine acquire sort of like sentience without being alive? And in that scene where Bato and Togusa get sort of mind hacked by the hacker guy, it is being shown how thin that border is between us and as beings that are alive, as animals, and the inanimate. And I don't know, the guy was also being an asshole, kind of. Bato lets that happen.
We're talking about the guy in the wheelchair in this screenshot right now, right? Yeah.
He literally put his brain into the body of a doll just to make it more obvious, right? This movie just tells you what it means outright. You just have to like watch it a couple of times, I guess, because it's like it's very heavy.
I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch it. I mean, I rewatched Ghost in the Shell I think 3 or 4 times, and I felt I have a good grasp on what was going on in it finally. So it's just I was hopeful with 2 I wouldn't have to, but now here I am eating.
Yeah, there are like so many different versions of dolls and robots being referenced. A lot of them are real life references too, like the lady in the mortuary, not mortuary, the where they examine the robot corpse. Her name is Haraway, and that references a real life philosopher who wrote a feminist cyborg manifesto. And she literally looks like that lady too. Like, if you know what they're talking about, then you're like, oh, that's so obvious.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
I mean, the dolls are kind of creepy looking.
Yeah.
You see on this, actually, a lot of the character designs, I felt like in this one, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but there's a lot of uncanny valley feeling in this, and I feel like that might be intentional.
I think so too. What I discovered is, especially in the beginning of the movie, the human characters all look kind of lifeless. They look very stoic. They don't animate much. They just sort of stand there or have like empty eyes. Especially Bato, he doesn't even have eyes. He has got like robot eyes. You don't know how he's emoting to anything. But
yeah, they're all very pale too.
Yeah, and the gynoids are full of colors. They have bright eyes and bright lips, and they look more alive than the actual humans do, and especially the dog. The dog is everywhere. It's like it's a basset hound.
We love the dog. Yes,
we love the dog. I love basset hounds.
Big floppy ears. He's just a good boy.
Big floppa, really.
And side note, Mamoru Oshii literally looks like a basset hound, and he puts a basset hound in every one of his movies. There's not a basset hound in there; it's not one of his. It's a thing. He loves to.
Listen, we all gotta have our little quirks, and I guess basset hounds is this guy.
Yeah, and so the humans look lifeless. The dolls look full of life, animals especially. And there's one bit in the mansion that Bato talks about. It's about there being divinity being something that is either infinite or nothing, and the creatures that have infinite divinity are animals because they're not conscious or aware, or I don't know, they don't give a fuck, they're alive basically. And dolls are the opposite because they have nothing it's alive in them.
But I kind of disagree with that take, because I think animals do think and feel and love and have,
they do.
Maybe they're not.
They do.
But
I'm gonna ruin you guys' day. So there was a study that came out recently that may have proven that a lot of animals that we don't think have consciences. They just don't look like ours do.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like basically like one of the lines in the study was like, when your dog looks at you very knowingly, yeah, it's not just a coincidence. It knows.
Oh, it knows. That's not what I'm disputing. I think it's what you're saying is it's not our sense of consciousness. They're not like constantly trying to debate their own existence. They just exist, in their own way. And I find that gets repeated in the final image of the whole movie, where it's Togusa holding his kid, holding a doll, standing across Bateau holding his dog. And
See,
there's
I
like,
saw that. I saw that scene where he's holding his kid, holding the doll as like an homage to man's aspirations to godhood.
yeah,
Where it
exactly.
was like man created, God created man, and then man seeing what God created, wanted to be like God, and created dolls. And then you turn around, and then there's Bato with his dog going, "This is great."
Oh yeah, yeah. So Bato is the foil for everything because he does not care. He has stopped caring about everything. I I love that scene where his chief like quotes a German sociologist on rationality with like one does not need to be Caesar in order to understand Caesar, and Bateau is like, yeah, fuck that shit. I'm just going to go guns blazing into the Yakuza headquarters because I have my own plan, and he just does it.
Yeah, I like
We're
that.
gonna go in with peace in mind. Okay, shows up. I'm gonna kill everybody.
I mean,
Yeah, it's
he
just like
has
one of them pulled a gun, and he's just like, "Oh, they pulled a gun on me. Guess it's time to shoot away."
Look out! It's that scene from South Park where it's like, "Oh no, look out! The bunny's got a gun!" After he tosses a gun at the feet of the bunny and starts shooting wildly. That's what it felt like to me.
yeah, there's
But
method to
also,
his madness
that whole scene though, it's just like he's just standing there shooting things with a machine gun, and they're all firing back at them. How did none of their bullets hit?
because he was a hologram.
Oh right, that's right. So then how was the hologram shooting? Or was he just shooting somewhere
It's all
different?
He
your
was
brains.
he was shooting from a different angle, but making
Yeah.
it look like they were coming from that angle, so they shot it that way. Well, he
That's
shot it
Oh
another
yeah.
way.
yeah.
There's so many cool references and
Yeah, I forgot
things.
about that. God, I mean, there's just
Um,
so many things happen in,
Yeah,
in that
there's
movie.
so much, and then you have to talk about the visuals of the movie too, right?
oh yeah.
The art of the movie. Well, we're not going to talk about the CG cut twos for things because
Yeah,
those CG birds are going to live in my head for rent free for forever because they were
there's one of the screenshots that
so
pops up
well
on this
looking.
is a CG seagull, and I laughed so hard when it came on
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it looks so bad compared to the rest of the movie.
I don't know what their thought process was for adding CG beyond like CG was just getting to that level where you could start throwing it into movies and it looked semi decent, but it ruined every scene that it was in. Every scene where they like swapped to CG for something, I was like, well, I'm taken out of this movie completely now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that was, and I think that was one of those things where it's just like for the time, it probably looked good, but now we've gotten so used to CGI and what good and bad CGI looks like that the movie in this probably was good at the time, but boy, it's not now. But you know,
Oh,
That
sorry.
is some.
what?
Oh, you okay?
I think Dre dropped some popcorn on the floor.
Oh, well, yeah. I will admit, after rewatching it, I also noticed that the CGI did not hold up. Sadly, it felt different in my mind. The composition, the 2D 3D composition was pretty well done. Like Studio IG or Production IG know what they're doing, but knowing how well they can animate things and then them doing CGI stuff.
Yeah, here's the goal. Here's the goal. It's like,
Oh yeah,
you look at this as like, is this the same movie that the rest of these screenshots are from?
yeah.
How is
Could
this
have
the
been
same
like.
thing?
I do have a book. I have a wonderful book that's about architecture in anime, and there's a little chapter on this movie too, where they talk about, for
Yeah.
example, the big cathedral that's based on the one.
Oh my
in-
god.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
cathedral scene was
The
beautiful.
establishing shots showing like the scenes where they're in and stuff were pretty amazing, and like really did a great job of like setting the scene. So like some of the like landscape shots that were CG didn't bother me too much, because I think that's something you can make. You know, living things in CGI are much harder to make look good than
Oh yeah,
static objects.
Mhm.
But the 2D animation was the studio animation I got, and I know what you're saying is like the composition of the shots, like the cinematography, and like you can take a screenshot from it, and it's going to have good composition. It's really thought out well, and most of the still shots that you're seeing here are compositionally just really well put together, and the cinematographer did a really good job of getting the shots together and framing them. I have to say. And
There's always something nice to see.
Yep. And with that, I think now would be a great time to go over our predictions and see how our predictions lined up with what actually unfolded during the movie.
Okay, well, fine. We'll do that.
Because there's got to be some conversation in there, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, Motoko and Bacho return. I was right on that. Got the obvious one there. So we're gonna have that one. And Motoko returns, kind of, but I mean she does. So
she returns near the end. So yeah, you can have that one.
Yeah.
She returns in literal spirit.
Yeah. Neither of them die. Yep. They come close.
Okay.
Well,
now to be philosophical, technically Motoko never died. Technically died in the first one, but also didn't die at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
she's
part of the thing is these movies is just like, what is the soul? What is a ghost? Is a ghost a soul? What is?
Now the question is that even Motoko? After the first movie, she fused with a different entity to become something new.
Again, exactly.
Literally, she became her own child. It's just so difficult for everyone to grasp that they were literally just saying, "Oh, she just ran away," and she kind of just exists as a soul in the internet, and she can download herself into puppets and go full Rambo, as you do.
That's one
she's
does.
still cool like I'm gay.
Yeah.
Toss that in at the end.
But I mean, I guess I would say die as in like their essence and their, like their body dying doesn't count as them dying. So it's like I would say I get that one.
Yeah.
She gets another new body. Well, she takes over a body. I mean,
she downloads herself into one.
Technically correct, but technically incorrect because she does ditch it at the end.
Yeah,
and it doesn't.
So should we call this one like yellow? Because
I would give that one a yellow. Yeah.
Okay.
You're like 60% accurate.
And these two.
I think the intent with that one was that she got like a return of her, like the body form that we saw in the first movie.
Yeah.
Right.
But these next two, oh my gosh, straight up wrong. There were no android children, unless you call the guy knows children. Are they being kidnapped?
Okay, so
no.
So those were technically children.
Hold on, Twig. Those androids had the ghosts of children in them. That was the whole evil plotline, that the company was using children to download their brains or like copyright their brains into those gynoids.
Okay, so we're gonna say that's yellow then, because I suppose but the thing is, like, actual children were being kidnapped and enslaved.
Because in this sense, right? Android in the realm of the movie, androids are already in existence, right? Like android children are not separate from children because children, I guess, I don't know the laws of this show do not have the ability to become androids, and to become an android you need a human element.
I thought you were quite spot on with that one.
Like, yeah, I would give you that one because children were being kidnapped and they were turned into androids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And it's kind of a reference.
You're being more generous to me than I was to myself, apparently. But,
when you wrote that out, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. That one was like the one that's like, of all the ones on that list, that one was like the Hail Mary that you seem to have gotten right.
But I mean, I guess, with the subtitle Innocence, it's like, well, we know that like it's gonna be innocence, and when you're talking innocence, you're either talking animals or children, and I didn't think it would be straight up about. I don't, you know what I mean?
It's again a metaphor for lots of things in this show, but one of them being sex trafficking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's like sex trafficking.
Why was it just important people and politicos, being targeted by these bots?
It wasn't. It was kind of random. It was just high-profile people because they would attract the most attention.
Right.
I see.
Like the whole plan. That actually that ties into your next one. So do your next one.
Well, it says Maotoko infiltrates them, pretend to be a child, and frees them. Well, I don't think no, because I would say definite no on this one, because I was thinking that, like, she would use her childlike appearance in order to, like, get inside, and that's not really what happened.
Yeah,
she took one over, but
Yeah,
she didn't like use that disguise as a ruse to infiltrate them.
she downloaded in the middle of this facility. She didn't start on the outside of the facility. Came in with
Yeah.
yeah.
She was aware of what was going on. Like when her encounter with Bato, she's like, "Oh, you know what's happening behind the curtain there?" And it's like, "Yeah, I have a good idea."
Yeah.
So it wasn't her herself, but she helped free them, and she knew what was going on. The whole plan of the kids sending hidden messages and basically killing high-ranking people was devised by another victim. It was the Yakuza victim in the boathouse that they investigate.
Yeah.
It's fun side note. The book that Bato picks up, like randomly, is like a famous German artist who made very lifelike dolls and photographed them. Trying to see in my notes what they were called. No, not this way. Yeah.
Trapped in a Gyner
And
factory.
he finds the photo of the girl that Bato saves in that book. Oh, the book was Hans Belma. It's like they put like these incredible references in that you'd have to like Google, being like extreme art nerd to know about.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's one of many of the things in this movie that went over my head. That
Definitely, like, yeah. Again, I did not know that, so
yeah,
like that's
now
something I'm gonna go back and look at.
Yeah, like this hollow picture of a girl. He kept mentioning that he had a daughter at one point, so I thought that was like of his daughter.
Yeah, like, and the girl at the end of the movie mentions like, "Oh, it was this guy who told us to kill people and help us in the buffer or something, so to it will get some attention." And then Bato gets mad because he's like, "Oh, think about the dolls that you've also killed," because kind of like instigated suicide by cop. But yeah,
were all the dolls that they murdered at the end, were those just acting autonomously, or did they have the souls of girls in them too?
No, they didn't. To be fair, that part of the movie is a bit murky. I think it's just the security system going haywire and just murdering everyone because the dolls now have combat routines downloaded into them.
I know.
Yes, exactly. And then I love that scene where like the station security comes out. I guess they have like no idea what's going on. It's like, "Oh, we have a breach of security." But there were a bunch of weird giant dolls. "Oh, he just kicked off the head of my colleague." Classic horror scene.
This movie gets incredibly violent at some points.
Yeah,
very graphic too.
Yeah, it's Ghost in the Shell, I guess. I mean, it's cyberpunky.
What do we expect? I mean,
that's kind of par for the genre, I want to say.
Yeah, and like,
I mean, Studio Ghibli movies famous for getting hyper violent. You know?
Definitely a Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah, 100%. And then your last prediction there, I think you're completely wrong about. Obviously, there was no dog, so. Gotta be red on that one.
No dogs.
No dog
not at any point.
No dog at all.
I disagree.
What? There was a dog?
Okay.
Wow. Look at this. The show host trying to give himself extra points, everybody.
I got that right. There was a dog. We have screenshots of the dog. We've talked about the dog. The dog's a basset hound and he's super cute. And Bato goes to buy him the one type of food from a convenience store that he likes, and then shoots up the place.
That scene where Bato makes food for the dog and then just puts it there, and then he just lounges in the lazy boy with a beer. And I wrote down in my notes, epitome of masculinity.
Hey man,
Hey man.
we all have our hobbies, all right? Listen, you can't fault the man for making food for their dog and just having a beer after.
After a long day
Nothing wrong with
investigating
chilling.
murders.
Look, did you see what kind of a day he had at work? I think he's entitled to a beer and a chill and a
Yeah.
lazy boy.
That's why I love him so much.
It's the simple things that get you
But
through
I
life,
also
like
feel
murdering
like-
a bunch of people,
God, how
sitting
much-
in your lazy boy, having a beer.
How much beer would it take to get Bato drunk, though? I feel like
Oh,
I feel
he
like
does
he'd have
not
very
get
high
drunk.
tolerance.
I feel like it's very performatory, right? Like this
Yeah.
is referencing another franchise near and dear to my heart, Destiny 2. There's a lore bit that talks about the first time humans were ever introduced to robotic bodies, and the brain rejected the entire notion of not eating to the point it drove people insane, and so they had to develop an entire system of digestion so that the brain could process eating food. And I think that's a lot of anytime I see a robot now in a movie eat or drink something, that's what I think about. I think, there's definitely some component of humanity in there that just cannot process not eating.
Well, I mean, okay, so maybe this is something that we could open up a psychological bag to, but the character Data from Star Trek Next Generation, he eats and drinks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Because
part of
again,
him wanting to experience the human experience.
because Sun, what's his name? Not Sunhwa. That's from a different. I can't remember the name. His creator wanted him to experience humanity, right?
Yeah.
I feel like actually Data might. Yeah. I think Data is actually a really good reference point in terms of a philosophical question being asked of what is a soul, what is a robot, in comparison to Ghost in the Shell, right?
People say that season 2 of Star Trek Next Generation sucks, but it has the episode Measure of a Man,
Yeah.
which is legitimately one of the greatest episodes of sci-fi television ever written. So
yeah, I can still think about that episode very clearly, and I think it's like, I don't know, I think it's a neat point of reference, especially when you're trying to ask the question of what is humanity when transhumanism exists, right, or when robots exist.
Yeah.
What is humanity, and then you see them eating food, you're like, well, that's something every human has to do, right?
Yeah,
that's
like,
definitely a human experience.
Eating, preparing, and sharing meals is one of those things that, like, the exact type of food differs from culture to culture.
Yeah.
But the act of sharing food is universal. There isn't a single culture where the breaking of bread being metaphorical, not literally bread, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's...
Yeah. Well, it used to be a literal term.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, you're bringing up like robots performing mimicry of human behaviors and things like shows. Like, it was like a similar thing in in Pluto, which was a recent anime adaptation of Astro Boy.
Actually,
where...
no, in 2006, Pluto was no longer an anime.
Oh.
It's just a dwarf anime.
That's a half anime.
I'm gonna reach through here with my claws and ensure that you don't have flight feathers for the next year.
Come on,
Thank
that
you
was
so
a
much.
good joke. That was a good joke.
It took me a second to get it, but yeah, okay.
I knew where he was going as soon as he said 2006. Throw more peanuts. Give this man more peanuts into his freaking noggin. Give him a concussion from nuts.
But what I wanted to mention in that anime, there are lots of robots that, even though they don't need to eat anything, they still enjoy the act of eating because it also makes them more lifelike and hopefully endears them to other humans. And then there are also robots who are literally adopt children, and then there's also like, so what is the boundary between robots and humans? What makes something alive? Is this like the things we act or feel or do, even though we don't have the needs for them?
Yeah, exactly.
And
what is the vestigial metaphorical gland of humanity that will be imparted upon robots or life that we create?
And like, does it extend or like expand those boundaries if us as humans acquire robot parts, if we make ourselves into cyborgs, if we like for example, transhumanism, and I'm gonna bring it up because I have to. Gender, you know.
As a transhuman yourself.
Yes, exactly.
I hate it here. The puns are terrible. I'm not getting paid enough to deal with this bullshit.
Honestly, I'm so glad you got that one. But
Fucking
I mean, I
transhuman,
take
goddamn.
I take artificial hormones in order to change my body, in order to become a better self. You know, like we were changing ourselves all the time, and I find that is good. That is something
Well,
we all should be doing.
so much of the discourse is like, oh, well, all these trans people doing these things to alter their bodies to fit their gender better. It's just not natural. And it's just like, hello, straight people do it all the goddamn time. What do you think steroid use is trying to do?
Oh yeah.
What about breast augmentations that women get, or Botox injections? Like, you know, we do all these things to try and make ourselves what we think is more ideal to our own genders, where it's just like, oh, if a straight person does it, it's totally fine, but if a trans person does it, suddenly it's unnatural. And it's just like, get the fuck out of here.
Suddenly, it's a problem.
You know, is a tattoo not a way of artificially altering your body? No, we don't. It's just like, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, obviously. But,
Yeah.
But it's just the thing is just like altering ourselves to fit more in with our cultural, you know, desires and our cultural definitions of gender is something that we see across every culture, not just now, but even through history. Like, body modification has been a thing going back as far as we have record of.
Yeah, and it'll be a bright future, at least if we believe cyberpunk and such, you know. And like, for example, I'm thinking now about the guy that.
Did you just say bright future and cyberpunk in the same sentence?
Yeah, well,
I'm
I'm not. I don't mean this dystopian kind, but it's.
Okay. This is gonna open up a whole other can of worms. But cyberpunk infers, right? The punk part infers that it is a dystopian rebellion going on in the universe. Whenever someone says steampunk or cyberpunk or technopunk or whatever the shit else, the punk part is the anarchist rebellious part because it infers there's a dystopian aspect to it.
Well, we're also being anarchist rebellious to our own body. We aren't willing to follow whatever plan our genetics have laid out for us. We now literally have the technology to improve us and make ourselves more like our most ideal self. I just wanted to mention that because a lot of the machines in the movie come in either two parts of it, like vintage, like the old cars that Bateau drives, or like super nature influenced technology, like that plane that has like wings like a bird, or that guy underwater who literally drives a dolphin. And I'm like, I want to have this guy's job because it seems like he just put his brain into like a dolphin body. Now imagine I could have that, but as a bird horse. And you see where I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I got you.
Lesbian cat girl maids.
Where are the cat girls, Elon?
Yeah. This is the bright future.
Cat girl. I mean, it is the bright future, but then it's like, but what this movie goes into of like where that technology could do versus what it might likely be to do. Yeah, we could have the technology to alter ourselves and be what we want to be, but we might also have instances where the technology is used against people's will to be what the people at the top want them to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That also gets mentioned.
Like, we talk about, you know, so many times it's like, God, I wish I had a cat girl maid that could serve me. And it's just like, oh, so you want an ultra cute sex slave. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, it's the ethics around body modification and whether, you know, people are doing it of their own free will or having it forced upon them. Like, oh, sorry, to work here in Amazon, you need to have these genetic modifications so that you can be a more efficient worker on the line. Oh, you don't want to do it? Well, I guess you're gonna be homeless. And, you know, shit like that. That's where I think Ghost in the Shell as a series excels in showing where it's like, hey, this technology can do amazing things, but in the wrong hands, in the
Yeah.
hands of the powerful, it can do pretty horrible things. And that's
Yeah.
kind of like one of the essences of what makes Ghost in the Shell Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, there's like this small line that Bato delivers. It's like, oh, they do not care that Matoko is gone or dead because functionally her whole body is government property, even her brain. Just her ghost isn't. Since they recovered all of that stuff, who cares? And yeah, that's just the dystopian aspect that this technology will be so expensive to produce that only rich people and those employed by the government can functionally afford it. And those employed by the government literally belong to the government. And if you want to leave that job, you will also have to leave your body.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up. And it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, we can watch it in a movie, but it's like one of those things that's like, oh God, if the technology ever did get to this level, that's likely what would happen. If we don't destroy capitalism, that's what the future is going to be like.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's also big part of cyberpunk the genre, and why I like this movie a lot, because it is very stock cyberpunk, with a bit of noir to it too. It's like
very
just
noir.
like no, like
Yeah.
very Blade Runner, honestly. Like they've read their Philip K. Dicks, and you know, they've seen their Maltese Falcons.
You know,
Great.
Melvin
Dre's
Felton is a
camera.
Twigs missing movie.
Dre's camera makes me look sleepier than I am.
Oh.
No,
Sleepy, yeah.
I'm always sleepy, bro. Always sleepy. Always ready to eep it up.
I'm
Keep it up.
sleepy.
And I think
I'm so sleepy.
there's so much philosophical debate and talk that exists within Ghost of the Shell, and I would spend hours talking about it, no problem, right? That's just who I am. I'm the kind of person who likes sitting around a campfire with a whiskey in hand and just talking absolute bullshit about nothing at all or everything at all.
Well, we're gonna
Um,
do that at TwigCon, so.
we're gonna do that at
TwigCon.
TwigCon. Uh, However, I think one of the most important questions we have yet to ask, Twig, and we don't have to cut it off, but it is an important question: is did you like the movie?
Well, I watched the movie. I was very invested in the movie the whole time. It posed great questions. It was a delight to look at. I thought the action scenes were good. I thought the characters were interesting. I thought that the plot, although confusing, was not like so completely obscure that I was not like, oh, I have no idea what the hell's going on. It's like some of the philosophical questions were deep, but I still kind of understood at least what was happening. And you know, I felt for the characters. I got invested in the plot, and so yeah, absolutely. I thought this was a great movie, and I would say I would recommend this movie.
Let's
Are
go.
Are you glad to have watched the movie?
Yeah, I would say I'm glad I watched it, and like this isn't what I would call like this movie isn't something I would call a cultural blind spot where it's like, you know, a big movie that's a big part of culture. I don't think it really was. So like that's the thing that says like, am I glad I watched it? Just to say that I've watched it? Well, that's not even really a question for this one. So am I glad I watched it because I thought it was worthwhile watching? Yes, and honestly, I probably am going to watch it again just because I feel like there's things that I missed the first time around that I'm going to get the second time and just explore it. So yeah, absolutely. So hey, we're 2 for 2 so far in Twigs missing movies. People have picked good ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
Any? Well, I feel like we're about an hour, a little bit over an hour. I know we wanted to keep these as close to an hour as possible.
Yeah, I was thinking between an hour and a half. I mean, sometimes we can discuss more. If there's a scene or something that you want to bring up that we haven't talked about yet, I mean, I feel like we could still talk about it. But
are there anything? Is there anything that you think we've missed in conversation, or maybe in our understanding of the movie that you think is very critical to point out before we go and watch it a second time or go on with our lives?
Let me have a quick look through my. I think the only thing, or one of the coolest thing that it brings up is sort of the relationship of life and death. Because there's like this one moment where they're sitting in the car and it's like, oh, let's go talk to the guy. They're being informed the guy has just died, and Bato, ever having this encyclopedia of cool ass quotes in his brain, recites a haiku, and it's a death haiku about someone. It goes, every spring day between this world and the next, I spur on the coach, and I'm like, oh, you're the coolest guy ever because you just said that you're gonna pick up a corpse. And that gets later referenced when Togusa notices the writing on a wall about when you die, you're functionally just a puppet whose strings have been cut. And he gets enchanted by that, and YOLO haiku, basically. It's sort of these sort of like Togusa sees something and he's like, "Oh, I'm 14 and this is deep, right?" And
I think I even said that at one point during our watch through.
I mean, this is more like an I'm 18 and this is deep. I'm 14
yeah,
and this is deep as the Matrix.
yeah, oh yeah, and and contrasting to that is Bato, who has like the actual quotes, but he's more like, yeah, it doesn't matter, nothing matters. He's the he's literally the Nietzsche to Togusa's Schopenhauer, if that tells you anything. I don't know. German references. There's so many German references in this.
Of
I'm
course
very
you like it because
happy.
of the German
Yeah,
references.
yeah. Um, Very funny though. Like Bato is absolutely the nihilist in this show. The only thing it's exactly like Nietzsche. He has a thing. He has a women. He has women issues. He's a mummy boy. He doesn't know what to do without his mummy. He's like, oh no, I wish my major was back. And everyone is also like, please go on with your life. Grow up.
I mean, to be fair, Major was a pretty great partner.
I mean,
I
it is
would have liked that. I
amazing.
would have liked more of her in this movie, but this movie
Yeah,
this was Bato's movie.
it was
And,
Bato's movie.
and that's fine. It doesn't need to be all about the Major. We like the Major.
Yeah.
And her role in it, I think they used her very well.
Yeah, for sure. Like a kind of kind of like a Deus Ex.
Yeah. This,
Also kind of like a
this movie fails the Bechdel test.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
does fail the
Yeah.
Bechdel test very hard.
Wait, does Rocky Horror fail the Bechdel test?
No,
Do
there's
any
a
of the
scene
women
where
have
like,
conversations with each other that aren't about a man?
yeah, like,
Yeah, they do. They do a couple times. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. we should keep a track. We should mention that in every episode. Does it pass the Bechdel test?
I mean, and Frankenfurter is, I mean, can't even say if that's a man or a woman. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, non-binary and transgender people, do they? Yeah, that does throw a little bit of a wrench into the Bechdel test.
Yeah, exactly.
It does, and it's actually that's an entire another discourse that I stumbled upon some months ago, and I had to sit there for a solid minute and a half. Like days, not actual minute and a half, going,
Well, and that's the thing, is that like the Bechdel test isn't a test to say, is this movie feminist or not? It's really more of a criticism of the movie industry as a whole rather than any one individual movie. Because I wouldn't say that this movie is misogynistic or sexist, and I would say it's actually probably reasonably progressive in its views of women, but like it doesn't really go into the topic of women that much. So it's like, I'm not going to say this movie is sexist because it fails the Bechdel test, but also at the same time, it's just like, yeah, it's no, the Bechdel test isn't poorly thought out. Like I said, it's more of a thought experiment about the whole of a movie, to say like, hey, look at this James Bond franchise. Every single one of them fails this basic test. And it's more to say about like I don't think the Bechdel test is poorly thought out. It's just maybe due for a bit of a modern update? I don't know.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
was well. I mean, think of it this way: the time that it was created for a purpose, and it was to drive a point about representation of women in media.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it wasn't ever meant to be a rubric of, oh, you need to have these women. It was meant to be like, hey, dummies, look at how you're representing women in the media, if you're representing them at all. And do you think that this is how women should be portrayed?
Yeah.
Right? And like, it definitely probably overdue for an update, to include, non-binary and trans people and too. And I would even say that needs to be one for gay people, because holy shit, there's a lot of media out there, as I've ranted about a lot last week and a half,
yeah.
that give very poor representation on media towards gay people, and that's what the test is for. It's not a test. It's not a rubric that you need to measure against. It's
Yeah.
for
Here's the
your
gay
own
Bechdel test.
conclusion.
Are there two gay
We're calling
characters
it-
in the film?
we're calling it the Drayfrjg
Do these
test.
gay characters
Wait.
have names? And are these
Wait, we
gay
can't call it
characters
that.
not in a relationship with each other?
Are they in a very toxic gay relationship?
I would say
what
the gay
you know
Bechdel
what?
test
No,
would be having two
no,
gay
we're calling it.
characters that are not in a relationship with each other.
Or wanting to be at each other's bones.
It'd
We're
be
calling
going
it-
into the
we're calling it-
boom zone.
We're calling it the Dreidel test. Wait,
The dreidel?
no. We're not throwing little
Well, Bechdel was
Hey.
someone's name, so you could just call it the Drayfrjg test.
the Drayfrjg test. That's it. That's the new gay test for representation.
The
Drayfrjg test.
test. So are
And
there
it's-
two
it's-
named gay characters that are not in a relationship with each other?
And it's just me in front of the movie going, no, this is bad. This is bad representation. Or yes, this is a good representation.
Oh my
And then, of course,
gosh.
you always have the debate of, is any representation better than no representation? And, like, I mean, I do highly recommend the documentary, The Problem with Apu, because it's like, it actually goes far more deep than people like, well, the Fox News crew said it was. They're like saying, oh, they're just saying The Simpsons was racist. It's like, no, it actually goes into deep in that. And like the guy's just like, was Apu necessarily a bad representation? Because at least we were getting some representation. And does having representation benefit us if that representation is a stereotype? Is a bad representation better than no representation? And it's one of those questions. It's like, maybe, and it's up to the people who are being represented to decide.
Yeah. And I think there's a certain amount of when the general populace is not in favor of something, right? Like gays. Let's use gays, or in this instance, some representation. Having a funny, quirky gay character in the background who's sassy and judgy and all that stuff. I think tempers the water for you to be able to do more complex characters eventually. You just have to be careful not to end up in the trap of always creating that same character over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And
one thing that I've felt is like the representation of autism in media, where it's just like, oh, what are the representations of autism that we have? Sheldon Cooper and the guy from The Good Doctor.
Hey man,
Yeah.
I am a surgeon. Okay, you can't just take this away from me. I am a surgeon. All
I mean,
right.
They treat depictions in media treat autistic people as if we're completely socially clueless, and we're not.
The problem is there's not enough representation because there are not enough creators of that group that can deliver that representation, because you should always write what you know. If you don't know what you're writing, then you should get someone who knows that thing.
Why do you
know,
think
like,
so many men are bad at writing sex scenes?
yeah, exactly. Like it's gotten better, right? Like, for example, whenever there's like a show or something that has Native Americans in them, they're often played by Native Americans or have had counseling by Native Americans. They're like, these are our customs of our tribe. Obviously, there's so many different tribes and things like that. And
I know, it's just like people, the Native American thing. It's just like they like to lump Native Americans as like, oh, there's the Native Americans. It's like, no, before we arrived, there were literally thousands of different tribes with their own cultures and languages and customs, and you can't say it's like, well, we didn't commit genocide because there's still natives still around. Yeah, tell that to the 90% of tribes that are completely gone.
Or tribes that literally have no history left. but they
Yeah.
still they
Yeah.
they know that they existed, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you talking about? Our Native Americans are doing fine. They have this great casino. It's like, yeah, those people have no trace of their original culture left, and the natives that benefit from a casino make up less than 2% of all natives still alive.
I'm gonna get a little spicy. More people would be able to tell you the number of different breeds of dogs than they could different tribes in of the Native Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, much to my shame, that I could name a pretty significant number, but boy, I can name a lot of breeds of dogs.
Yep.
Wow, we are getting very philosophical in this one, and but you know, that's why.
How do we go from transhumanism to this?
Good.
Look, no, this is a great conversation, and I hope our guests, or I hope our audience is finding it interesting. But yeah, it's interesting. But I think
it just goes to show you how there's nothing that exists in a vacuum in our world, in any philosophy. Nothing can exist by itself, in itself, and of itself without touching something else. And transhumanism, I think, is like kind of the pinnacle of questions, right? Because it's still something that's almost firmly in the realm of fiction, right? Not nonfiction,
Yeah.
fiction.
Well,
Fiction.
That's the thing.
And we're still
what makes us human.
Yeah, what makes us human? And then you have to start asking questions of, well, what is a human? And then you start going, well, are they straight? Are they gay? Are they white? Are they, a person of color? What's their background? What's their history? And like, you cannot ask the question, what makes a human, without asking a myriad of other questions too.
Yeah. And then we break it down into subcategories of what makes a man, what makes a woman, what makes
a horse.
What makes a horse?
Makes a haunt.
Yeah, like Ray, you have
Yeah.
horse parts, you have human parts, you have crow parts.
Yeah.
Where'd you get them arms?
I stole them.
Oh, fuck.
You won't get them back.
Yeah. Where'd you get them titties?
I grew them myself.
Hey. But what makes a corvid? Am I truly a
Are they organic?
Crows don't typically have yellow eyes, yet I have yellow eyes.
Are they technically GMOs?
Well, sadly, I guess gene splicing doesn't exist for trans people yet, but
Yeah, oh man, imagine how strong trans people could be.
Oh god,
with gene splicing. Dream
splicing.
Dream splicing. I'm doing it. It's my new business guy.
I saw a great thing on a bodybuilder forum. They say it's just like, this is how strong an average gorilla is and how much weights they can lift and how strong they are. They said, now imagine if a gorilla had a proper weightlifting routine.
Oh no!
Hey, let's stop with the terrifying ideas for 5 seconds, okay? Cool.
All right. Well, I do think that it is time to call this episode of Twigs Missing Movies done. I mean, we could literally sit here and talk about transhumanism and the soul for literal hours, but I think it's time to call this done. So I guess before we leave, Ray, is there anything you would like to plug?
Any promotions?
Yeah, just my, I guess, Twitter's at Crowtaur Arts. I draw pretty arts there.
Are your commissions open right now?
Yeah, always open. My commissions are always open.
Yeah. So I mean, you can see in the description of this, you can click at the @Crowtaur. That'll take you to her page, which has all the links to all the places, and can't recommend enough because you're an amazing artist. I'd say your art is so good. So good.
I know, I've paid you. I've thrown some money at you to do some funny things before.
Yeah, I was happy to draw more funny things for you.
Yes.
That's how Corvid exchanges work. Throw money, get thing.
Yeah, do you guys know if you give money to artists, they will draw some stuff? It's great. It's a little trick I learned.
Well, why would I throw money at an artist when I can just go to an AI thing and just type in and get it?
You see this gun? You see this gun underneath my? I will.
Yeah, you see my sword? See
my claws?
I'm just joking.
Flying?
Fuck AI art. Fuck it for. Ow. Okay. Ow.
Yeah, don't piss off Bond. Bond's one of my 3 artists that I go to for stuff. You know, I keep them in a nice little shack with some
Aw.
water and some food.
All right. Well,
Please, I want to see the sun again.
well, anyway, we'll see you in about 2 weeks. Our next guest lined up is the amazing Luna Miura, and we're going to be watching The Last Unicorn.
Yeah!
I love that movie so much.
So we'll see you in a couple weeks. I'll just check out my socials for the exact day. Thank you very much, Ray, for coming on. Thanks, Drayfrjg, for keeping me in my place. And we'll see you all soon. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful week. And yeah, this has been Twig with Twigs Missing Movies.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Much fun. Insured by Drayfrjg Insurance. Qua.